or Hong Kong Certificate of Education examination to continue their studies. But because of a lack of Form 6 places, students have been reduced to waiting for hours outside of schools and other places, offering a chance to further their education. Many have turned to a government-sponsored program known as Project Yijin, which offers secondary school leavers a chance to continue their studies at one of the city's community colleges. The project is offering 18,000 places in 200 full-time courses, which provide vocational training and a chance for candidates to go on to university or get a job at the end of the program. With competition for places on the program fierce, thousands waited overnight outside the Hong Kong International Trade and Exhibition Center in Kowloon Bay, where Project Yijin is holding a fair over the weekend to help people wanting to continue their studies. Organizers opened their doors an hour early, but tried to calm the situation by saying that winning a place on the Yijin program was not determined on a first-come, first-served basis.
Well, we try to work hard, with the government and try to provide additional placement for all students. My final advice is the students should choose the courses, the programs that suit their abilities and their attributes.
Feng also said places are allocated by computer system and the results should be known by next week. Students applying for a place have to pay a $200 fee even if they don't get in. This year, 122,000 students sat the HKCEE. Close to 59,000 Form 5 school students got a passing grade, but there are only 35,000 Form 6 places in the city's public school system, which means 24,000 students who have the necessary marks still won't be able to move on to the sixth form. This is the fourth day for Form 6 placements, and for those who could not get a place in their chosen school or in any other schools, they can apply for a seat through the central allocation system. That said, the chance of getting into a school using the allocation system is slim, as there were only 25 places left this morning. The HKCEE is being phased out, and next year students will automatically graduate from Form 5 to Form 6 and then sit the new Hong Kong Diploma of Secondary Education, a test which will replace A-levels as the city's university entrance exam. With a place in Form 6 guaranteed for the next generation of students, the hope is Hong Kong will see less of today's desperate scenes and provide its youngsters more opportunities for further learning. Derek Wong, ATV News.
Police have welcomed the Justice Department's decision to go to the Court of Appeal to seek a tougher sentence for the niece of a top judge who spared jail time despite assaulting an officer. Officials dismissed claims the force chose a lenient charge when deciding to prosecute her to begin with. ATV's Diane Ter reports.
Amina Miriam Bokhari hid her face from the media circus at court again yesterday, but she couldn't hide the fact that people are outraged at the light sentence she got for slapping a policeman, something she's done 3 times now. At the review of the sentence, Magistrate Anthony Yuen decided to keep his original ruling of 12 months probation and an $8,000 fine for slapping a police officer, careless driving and refusing a breathalyzer test after a car crash in January. Yuen is being accused of handing down a light sentence because of Bokhari's powerful connections. She is the niece of Court of Final Appeal Justice Kamal Bokhari on her father's side, as well as that of Hong Kong Exchange Chairman and Executive Councillor Ronald R. Cully on her mother's side. Within 3 hours of yesterday's review outcome, the Justice Department announced it would ask the Court of Appeal to review the case. Now the police department has come under fire as people are demanding to know why Bokhari was charged with lighter offences than she could have been hit with. For example, her careless driving offence could have been a more serious, dangerous driving charge. Callers at a radio show this morning also accused the police of having double standards, saying political activists have been slapped with hefty charges after scuffles during pro-democracy protests. Police Director of Operations Hong Hak-wai defended the force's decision, insisting there are no double standards. Hong said the officer in charge of the scene on the day lays down the charges, depending on the situation. Director of Crime and Security Xavier Tang said the department will hold a review on the case to see if there should be a change to how prosecution charges are made. Angry citizens are planning an unauthorized protest tomorrow, saying if police try to stop them, they can just say, "I don't care, I need to leave," which is what Bokhari was caught on camera saying to the police in January. Ironically, in June, Bokhari's aunt dismissed an appeal for a man sentenced to 14 days in jail for his first conviction of slapping a police officer. Diane To, ATV News.
3 people were injured in Kowloon City this afternoon when a minibus crashed into a car and flipped over onto its roof. Part of a busy road in the area was closed because of the accident. Here's Derek Wong.
The accident happened at around 3:20 this afternoon. The red minibus was heading towards Mongkok along Prince Edward Road West when it hit a car and flipped over near Earl Street. Some traffic lights and a sign were also damaged. At least 3 people were injured in the crash. One of them was taken to Queen Elizabeth Hospital by emergency workers. The rest of the injured people were treated at the scene. This passenger said it all happened very quickly. He said that the minibus driver swerved right before the crash. Another passenger said that although there were seatbelts in the bus, almost no one was wearing them. Derek Wong, ATV News.
Well, hundreds of rescue workers are continuing their search for a New Zealand man after he went missing in a Tai Po country park on Wednesday. His family and friends have been giving out missing notices, hoping for any information that could help. Diane To reports.
Government helicopters carrying rescue workers continued the search for the missing New Zealand man today. Fully equipped firefighters and civil aid service personnel hiked along the Wilson Trail near Tai Po. Other firefighters negotiated the hilly terrain here in Pat Sin Lang Country Park, hoping to find 51-year-old Stephen John Morrissey, who was last seen on Wednesday. Marine police are also patrolling the waters around the area, adding to the more than 300 rescue workers who have been searching for the Air New Zealand first officer, a seasoned hiker with trekking experience in Hong Kong. Morrissey's family and friends, who flew in yesterday, returned to the country park this afternoon. Together with the police, they gave out notices to passers-by and diners in Tai Mei Tuk, a popular weekend destination nearby. Morrissey had been on an 8-hour hike with a friend when he decided to go ahead separately and meet up at a bus stop later on. His friend raised the alarm when Morrissey still didn't show up at their hotel that night, and rescue forces have been looking for him since then. But heavy thunderstorms on Thursday night has made the mission much more difficult. Diane To, ATV News.
Turning overseas now, Pakistan is bracing itself for more flooding after heavy rains overnight further swelled rivers and streams. At least 1,600 people have died and more than 12 million have been affected by the disaster. And the flooding is spreading into new areas. Sindh province is one of the areas on alert because of the forecast of more rain. UN officials say more than 500,000 people have been evacuated. Russian authorities are warning people in Moscow to stay indoors and avoid physical activity as smog from some of the country's worst wildfires in recent history smothers the capital. The smog has grounded flights at the city's main airports and forced people to wear masks to protect themselves from the fumes. A pall of thick smog hangs over the air in the Russian capital, Moscow. Haze and smoke from Russia's worst wildfires in recent memory, some of which are burning hundreds of kilometers away, has blown into the city, drastically reducing visibility and forcing residents and tourists to wear face masks to protect themselves from the noxious air. The low visibility has affected air traffic departing and arriving at 2 of Moscow's main airports, with some flights being forced to divert to St. Petersburg or Kazan. Airborne pollutants such as carbon monoxide have been registered at 4 times higher than average, forcing authorities to warn people to stay indoors and avoid physical exertion. Conditions in the capital have been made worse by the intense heat, which has seen temperatures rise to as high as 40 degrees Celsius. Smog and haze from the fires has been affecting Moscow for a week, but witnesses say conditions over the last 24 hours have been the worst so far. Hundreds of forest fires or peat bog fires are raging around the city or south of it, with 7 regions still under a state of emergency. Dozens of people have been killed in the fires, while at least 2,000 homes have been destroyed. A decorated U.S. Army doctor faces 4 years hard labor as punishment for defying orders to go to Afghanistan. He's refusing to take orders because he believes Barack Obama is not a U.S. citizen and therefore not entitled to be president or give orders, a belief held by a surprising number of Americans. ATV's Su Ching-tae reports.
All servicemen and women.
This decorated U.S. Army doctor is facing 4 years of hard labor, punishment for refusing to follow orders and go to Afghanistan. His reason? He believes U.S. President Barack Obama is not an American citizen and is therefore not entitled to hold the office of the presidency, as he explains in this home video.
If he is ineligible, then my orders, and indeed all orders, are illegal because all orders have their origin with the commander-in-chief, as handed down through the chain of command. Any reasonable person looking critically at the evidence currently in the public domain would have questions about President Obama's claim to be a natural-born citizen.
The lieutenant colonel was arraigned before a military court on 3 charges of disobeying a lawful order, 1 count of missing movement, and 1 count of dereliction of duty. Lakin has been in the U.S. Army for 18 years as a flight surgeon, serving all over the world and racking up a chest full of medals doing so. He did not enter a plea, and his lawyer insists he's doing this out of a sense of honor.
He felt compelled and that he had no choice but to follow this course, and that the oath that he took 18 years ago is what has brought him to today. He is acting on his own conscience. No one has encouraged him to do this. He has not encouraged anybody else to follow in his footsteps. He speaks for himself alone.
Lakin subscribes to the view that Obama was born outside the United States and not in the state of Hawaii, despite a certificate of live birth produced by the state of Hawaii and other documents that appear to show otherwise. It turns out Lakin isn't the only person who disputes the official story surrounding Obama's origins. A CNN poll last week found over a quarter of Americans doubt Obama was born in the U.S. And only 42% said they had absolutely no doubt he was born in the U.S. To add to the confusion, records from Obama's childhood in Indonesia show he was registered in one school under the name Barry Soetoro. Soetoro was the last name of the U.S. president's mother's second husband, Park Lolo Soetoro. A search on Wikipedia for Barry Soetoro directs web users straight to Obama's profile on the online encyclopedia. However, the name is not mentioned anywhere on the page, and no explanation is given to Wikipedia's users why they were redirected to Obama's profile. The White House has called the doubts fictional nonsense, while Republican politicians, including John McCain, the senator who ran against Obama in the 2008 presidential elections, say the question has been answered and that any doubting Thomas should just move on. McCain was born in Panama. Su Ching-tae, ATV News.
In sports, world record holder and Olympic champion Usain Bolt